A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries and the students and resource persons for today. We welcome you all to the special initiative of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship for this webinar series. We will start this day's program on an auspicious note with the prayer song of our college. Kindly excuse the delay. We will shortly have the college prayer song. Please be with us and join us for the college prayer song.
त्रिसत्यं सत्यस्य योनिं निहितं च सत्ये सत्यस्य सत्यं धृतसत्यनेत्रं सत्यात्मकं त्वां शरणं प्रपन्नाः वाणी गुणानुकथने श्रवणो कथायां हस्तौ च कर्मसु मनस्तव पादयोर्नः स्मृत्यां शिरस्तव निवास जगत्प्रणामे दृष्टिः सतां दर्शनेस्तु भवत्तनूनाम् नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णायाद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनामविभेदेन जगत्क्रीडति यो यतः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
With this auspicious note, we start this day's proceedings with an excellent topic, the implication of corporate social responsibility on sustainable development. It is a concept which is of very high relevance in today's world because of the increasing impact of climate change, which has led to various green initiatives that have been taken up by not only common people but also industries per se. So this has increased the need for adaptation by the industries through their CSR projects to maintain sustenance both in the environment as well as sustainability in the industry per se. I now request Dr. A. Karthik to introduce our very special resource person for today, Dr. R. Panchalan. Over to you, Mr. Karthik.
Thank you, ma'am. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our resource person for this session, Dr. R. Panchalan, Professor at Department of Commerce, Institute of Distance Education, University of Madras. He has a vast experience in the field of teaching. He has worked as a faculty in the School of Management Studies, IGNOU, Javagar Science College, Neyveli, and Thandai Anne's River College, Perambalur. Also, Dr. R. Panjalan has worked as a director in charge in the Institute of Distance Education, University of Madras, for a period of 1 year. His area of interest are human resource management, organizational behavior, and banking. Dr. R. Panjalan is presently teaching HRM, organizational behavior, financial management, and marketing research for MCOM students. He is one of the trainer in L&T Kanjipuram. Dr. Panjalan has taken various sessions in the orientation and refresher courses conducted by academic staff colleges of Bharatiyar University and University of Madras. He has been a member in various professional bodies like lifetime member in the Indian Commerce Association, lifetime member in the National Institute of Personal Management, NIPM. He has been examiner in PhD thesis evaluation in various universities like Alagappa University, Bharathidasan University, Bharatiyar University, and Banaras Hindu University. He is guiding 6 PhD candidates at present and has guided 16 MPhil candidates. His area of research is HRM and organizational behavior. He has presented more than 50 papers in the national and international seminar and conferences. Now over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I convey my sincere thanks to the Department of Corporate Secretary, DG Vaishnava College, for providing this opportunity to share my ideas about CSR. As Madam rightly pointed out, CSR is the current topic, and many of us are still not familiar with the various sections of the Companies Act 2013. Section 153 of the 2013 amendment introduced the CSR concept as a mandatory activity. So when the government of India made the CSR as a mandatory activity, there was mixed response from the industrial people, because some were welcomed that move and some industrialists opposed that move. And moreover, various provisions of the Companies Act 2013 were very rigorous on punishment. Suppose if the CSR provisions are not implemented by the companies. So it is a current topic. So everyone, we should be familiar with that. So now we can start the session with the what is CSR, what is sustainable development, and how the CSR will help to achieve the sustainable development goals, etc. Okay.
Hello, sir. Can you unmute yourself, sir?
1 minute now.
Okay. Madam, is it visible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah. Okay, madam. Right. Okay. First of all, before I go to the CSR, just I want to discuss about the latest development on skills report. I hope most of you might have gone through the Indian skills report 2021. So that talks about which domains have more employable skills. Then what about the employability level of the current young people, and what are the skills required, etc. So after that we can go to the CSR. So in this regard, first of all, I appreciate and congratulate the students who are pursuing the BCom courses. So if you see the slides, I hope definitely you will feel proud of selecting the BCom courses, because so the BCom course is having more employable skills than the BSc course and even MCA, Polytechnic, and even B Pharma. So it is just second to the B and B Tech and MBA. So in this way, we can say that you have done a good job by selecting the BCom courses. But the pity thing is, so because of the COVID-19 problem, now the employable skills of the even BCom courses decreased. So if you compare the employable skills of 2021 with the previous year, 2020, definitely we can observe almost in all the courses, the employable skills are reduced. So because of the COVID, because of the lockdown problem, and most of us are forced to be in the home, and many of us, when we are in the home, definitely we may not focus much on developing our skills, developing on our knowledge. So because of this, the employable skills after the COVID has decreased. But anyway, so when we compare our BCom courses with the other BSc and MCA, our course is having little bit more on employable skills. So in that way, everyone should feel happy. Then, when we compare the men with the women, the petty thing is men are having less employable skills compared to the women. So this is the time to focus for the boys much on developing their employable skills. Otherwise, they cannot even compete with their counterparts of girl students. So it is a time. But anyway, when we take the skills, the employable skills of the women, they are having good percentage of employable skills. So in that way, we can appreciate them. So they deserve a lot for developing or for possessing more employable skills than men. And when we take the states which provide more employable talent to the nation, in the 2020, the state Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and Uttar Pradesh were the top three states which provided more employable talent. But in the 2021, unfortunately, our Tamil Nadu is not in that list. But anyway, the Tamil Nadu was replaced by Orissa and Delhi. So in the 2021, Delhi, Orissa, and Uttar Pradesh were the states which provide more employable talent. So when we take the Uttar Pradesh, once they didn't contribute much on the employable talent people to the nation, but nowadays they are doing very well. So they deserve appreciation. Then just I want to focus on what are the skills are needed for the generation, for the current generation, or what are the skills expected by the employers, by the industries, from the students. Actually, the list is not completely given by me. So this is the list taken from the India Skills Report. So it is now our duty to develop the skills required by the industry. So the very first one is technical expertise. So whatever may be the job, the first thing is we should develop the technical knowledge on the field in which you are, whatever may be your field. So in that field, you must have more or good technical knowledge, technical expertise. Then positive attitude. So this is very, very important. So almost all the industry, they require the people with the positive attitude. So what is positive attitude? Can we develop the positive attitude at the later stage, or whether the positive attitude must be developed at the beginning stage of a human life? I hope you might have read the book You Can Win by Sivagara. So that book highlighted the importance of positive attitudes. And there was a little story about the positive attitude. Just I want to share with you that. So the book says that there was a hunter living in a forest area, and he had one dog, and he regularly trained the dog to walk on the river, because as a hunter his work was hunting, and whenever he involved in hunting, and most of the time the birds which were hunted by him fallen on the river, and because of his swimming and other problem, he couldn't pick up the birds which were fallen on the river. Therefore he took much pain and trained the dog to walk on the river, and to take the birds which were fallen after hunting. And one day his friend came to the his hut, his his house, or and he was just the hunter saying very proudly, say, I have trained my dog to walk on the water. And the person who came as a guest to his house asked, so whether your dog is not knowing swimming in the river? That was the response. So now can you guess whether the fellow who came to the hunter house is a person with a positive attitude or negative attitude? Can any students can respond to this question? Anyone? Hello, student? Anyone can respond me? Okay. Actually, by nature, by birth, a dog can swim in the water. You need not do anything for that, because it is genetic by genes. It can swim. But walking on the river is a challenging task. And when a person achieves something by taking some challenging task, definitely he deserves appreciation. So when a person perform well, and when you appreciate him, that is called positive attitude. And all of you might be knowing the of tumbler empty, and of tumbler uh, water. So a person with a negative attitude always see the bottle is of empty, and a person with a positive attitude will always see the bottle is with of water. So this is the positive attitude. So when we approach any person, so every person is having strength and weakness. So as a person, you must appreciate the positive aspect of the person, and you should not see the negative aspect and magnify that. That is not correct. That is called negative attitude. Then soft skills. So when we take the soft skills, now every one of us realized the importance of the soft skills. Even the university is doing a lot of program, and colleges are doing a lot of programs for developing the soft skills in order to inculcate the employable skills among the students. So when we take the soft skills, the first one is problem solving, then communication skills, then active learning, then resilience, flexibility, then digital dexterity, then analytical and critical thinking. So what is problem solving? So when we take the life, or when we take any industry or any business, any workplace, no, we cannot live without any problem. But the thing is how you approach the problem, how you define the problem, how you try to find out the solution to the problem. That is very, very important. Arvind? So that is very, very important. So problem solving is very, very important. Generally, we say, so when the problem is off, so when half of the problem is understood, you will be in a position to solve the problem. So for some people, understanding the problem is problem. So as first of all, we should know what's the problem, then what are the causes for the problem, then what are the ways or alternatives to address the problem, then we have to assess the merits and demerits of each alternative, then we have to find out, yes, this will be the better way to solve the problem. So in that way, you can develop the problem solving skills. Then communication skills, all of you might be knowing, because the last session for you was on the communication skills. Because whatever may be your strength, whatever may be your knowledge, whatever may be your skills, when you are not able to convey what you think, definitely there will be problem for you. So communication skills is very, very important. And when we take the communication skills, we always think that the others or the receiver of the communication should first understand us. That is very, very wrong. So when we involve in communication, first of all, we should try to understand their perspective, their expectation, their intention. Then accordingly we should communicate. So in the communication, first of all, we should try to understand the receiver. Then accordingly we have to communicate. So when you communicate in this way, definitely your message will be reached the receiver correctly. Then active learning. So all of you might be knowing that learning is a continuous process. Learning is a lifelong process. And when we take our Thiruvalluvar, he says that Tottanai Thurum Anarkeni Mandarakku Katranai Thurum Arivu. So when we take the learning, we can learn when we learn more and more. So when we take the soil, when you dig the soil more and more, you will get more water. Similarly, when you read more and more, you will learn more. And in the side, I just put up sharpen the sharp. So what do you mean by the sharpen the sharp? Have you read the book written the 7 Habits of Effective People, written by Stephen Covey? Any one of you? Any students, can you share with me whether any one of you have written the book, have read the book on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen R. Covey? So if you respond, I think that will be better. Hello? Can you hear me? And can you respond? Okay, I come to the book. So the book title is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Actually, this is a very popular book, and everyone who aspire to achieve something in the life must go through the book. So in this, the author has highlighted 7 habits. First one is be positive. So that is about the positive attitude. Then the second one, begin with the end in mind. So whatever you do, you should begin with the end in mind. That means whatever the course you pursue, you must know, so what will be the use of doing the course? இருக்காங்க நம்ம யாருக்கும் பேச விட மாட்டேங்கிறாங்க. People are there.
Yes. In the screen.
Okay, right. So begin with the end in mind means, so we have the clear-cut goal. Normally, suppose if you want to construct a house, what we will do? First of all, we prepare the blueprint of the house. Then only we start the construction. So before you pursue any course, you must be knowing. So after completing the course, what we are going to do, what is our aim, what is our goal. So that is begin with the end in mind. Then put first things first. So that means you have to prioritize. So all the activities may not be same. Some may need more attention, some may need less attention, and some activity must be done immediately, and someone can be postponed or can be done later. Therefore, we have to prioritize. Then seek first to understand, then to be understood. So this is like communication skills. Communication skills. As I said earlier, you have to understand others first. Then you should try to make them understand you. Then synergize. Synergize means unity is the strength. Unity is the strength. This is very popular slogan. So nowadays, you are expected work in the team. Therefore, you must have team spirit, and you must accept that yes. So as a team, we can achieve more than as an individual. So that is the talk about the synergize. Then sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw means you have to read continuously. So you have to enhance your knowledge. You have to sharpen the knowledge. So that is the sharpen law. So in this, the author Stephen Covey say a small story. So the story is like this. There are two woodcutters involved in woodcutting activity, and when we take the nature of work and the volume of work, both of the volume of the work are same. Assume there are the first woodcutter is A and the second woodcutter is B. And when we take A complete the work faster than B. And once B got surprise, so we both start the work at the same time and we take rest on the same time. But how it is possible for you to complete the work early? Then B asked A, so what is the secret? How you are able to complete the work than faster than me? Then A replied, yes, when we take the rest, you take full rest and you slept for the time. But myself, I take rest for some time, then immediately I sharpen the saw. So I sharpen the saw. So when you sharpen the saw, you can easily cut the wood. So that is the secret of A. So this is applicable to all the people, to all of us. Whatever may be your field. So in the field, we have to update our knowledge. We have to learn the latest development in the field. So then only you can able to distinguish yourself from the others. So that is about the active learning. Then resilience. So resilience means how you come up from the problem. So most of us think the problem is only for us. It is not like that. In everyone, every business, every institution is having certain problem. But the successful person or the successful organization able to come up with the after solving the problem. They can solve the problem immediately, and they are coming up. And the ordinary people, they talk about the problem and they don't know how to solve the problem, and they spend their entire life on talking the problem only. So when we take our country, so the COVID-19, you might be knowing that it affected the nation in so many aspects. The employment opportunity has come down. The economy suffered a lot, and people lost their job. All the activities, tourism or whatever may be, everything was collapsed. But immediately our country is recovering. Our economy is recovering now. So this is about the resilience. Then flexibility. So we should be a little bit flexible. So then only you can do the job in the workplace. Flexibility does not mean you have to compromise with your self dignity, or you have to compromise with your goal. That is not flexibility. Flexibility means, in some cases, adjusting with the co-worker, with the peer group. So that is called a flexibility. Then digital dexterity. So now we are living in the digital world, and particularly compared to the older generation, now the younger generation is more acquainted with the digital. And I think you don't have any option, because the technology is developing fast. So you must know the latest technology, and you should know how to handle the digital technology. Then only you can survive. Then analytical and critical thinking. So this is very important skills one require. Analytical and critical thinking. So I think in this, just I want to share one Tirukural, because our literature is having a lot of resources. I think it can provide solution to all type of problems. And when we take our Tirukural, the Tirukural says so many things about how the analytical and critical thinking. For example, just I share one Tirukural with you. எப்பொருள் யார் யார் வாய் கூற கேட்பினும் மெய் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. So I repeat, எப்பொருள் யார் யார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. So generally, what we do, suppose if one says something about the others or something, immediately we believe that. We won't apply our mind. So whether it is truth or not. So we should not see the person who says. We should see the context or the message. Then we have to analyze ourselves. So whether it is true or not. So in that way we have to think. So analytical and critical thinking, when you have the analytical and critical thinking, definitely you can easily solve any problem. Okay, right. So I think since the program is more on the enhancement of your skill, I slightly touched on the skills which are required now, then the significance of the employable skills. I think I now come to the main theme of the topic: corporate social responsibility. And when we take the word responsibility, are we the responsible people? Are we responsible people? So when we take us, so everyone is having the responsibility. So when you take the students, a student is having responsibility in the college. And when he goes to his house as a son or daughter, they have the responsibility. And as a member of the society, you are having the responsibility. And as a member of the country, we are having the responsibility. But the question is, are we realize our responsibility? Suppose if you take the present situation, now at present we are facing the problem of climate change. Now we are facing the problem of global warming. Now we face the problem of sinking or increasing the water level in the sea. And at one time, the cities or places which are located near to the seashore, இருக்காங்களாமே யாருமே தண்ணி கிடவுங்க. என்னாச்சு
இது இந்த ஸ்கிரீன் நம்ம ஷேர்
அப்படியா? இல்லை நான் பேசும்போது மாற்றிக்குவேன். ஓகே. So when we take the current situation, the situation is very bad. The water level in the sea is increasing. Most of us know the reasons for that. The wastages of the industries, that the plastic and other products, and so many things harm the environment, and the ecosystem is affected, and the biodiversity is affected, and many creatures in the world nowadays started their decreasing in their life. So everyone has the responsibility to protect our environment, to contribute something to the economic growth. But whether we are realizing that, and whether we are doing better way to protect the environment, that is a question mark. And when we take the corporates took a lot of input from the society. They enjoy the natural resources for their economic activity. They take the human talent from the society for their activity. But what they give back to the society, it is a very big question mark. And all of you might be knowing that. So during the lockdown, many migrant laborers suffered a lot. A lot of people lost their job. And for a lot of people, there were salary cut. They worked for minimum wages. And some people, even they didn't get their salary, their wages. But still, some of the corporates made very huge profits. And I think more than 30% they earned profit during the lockdown period. In this way, whether they are having responsibility to give back to the society or not, yes, they are having the responsibility. So initially, many corporates have done something for the society. There is no doubt. But the question is, whether all the corporates which are making good profit, whether they are doing something for the society. Definitely no. Therefore, the question arises. So in order to make the corporate a responsible business unit, in order to make the corporate to give back to the society, in order to make the society, the corporate to protect the environment, or specifically in order to make the corporate to achieve the sustainability, the Companies Act was amended in the year 2013. Now we can say that, so India is a country in which the CSR activity has become a mandatory, and whether we should feel proud for that or not. So generally we ask, so whether law is supreme or ethics is supreme. So which one we say supreme, whether law or ethics? Definitely Ethics is supreme. But the question is whether everyone adhere to the ethical norms, whether everyone adhere to the moral responsibility. No. Then the law come into force. So when you are not able to adhere to ethical thing on your own, definitely, and when you do the wrong activity, the law will come. So in that way, so when the corporates, that means all the corporates which are making good profit have not done enough for protecting the economy or for protecting the environment, then or for giving back to the society, then the law came into force. So now the Companies Act 2013 made the CSR activity as a mandatory one. Okay, now, right. Now come to the meaning of CSR. What is CSR? In general, we can say that CSR refers to the activities to be carried out by a corporate for the betterment of the society, economy, and the environment. So actually, these three are the bottom line of the CSR activity. So when a society, when the world definitely take care of the three things, society, economy, and the environment, definitely we can easily achieve the sustainability. We can easily achieve the sustainable development goals. So these three are very, very important. Okay, now just I want to take the definition given by the United Nations on Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. They have given a very comprehensive definition on CSR. CSR is a management concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and interactions with their shareholders. So we assume that. So when we teach the financial management, we always say that the important objectives of financial management is profit making and the wealth maximization. So profit making is concerned for the organization, and the wealth maximization is also for the organization. So as far as the objective of financial management is concerned, that is okay. But when we take the corporate as a part of the society, and when we take the corporate as a unit which enjoys major sources of the country, major sources of the world, definitely they are morally responsible to give back to the society. So that's why the UNIDO says that, so it is a management concept whereby companies they have to integrate the social concern and the environmental concern in their business operations and with their stakeholders. For example, if you take the stakeholders, we can say the investors, we can say the employees, etc. So previously, what the companies did, even doing something good for the employees, they treated as a CSR activity. But now, the Companies Act 2013 says that if you do something to your own employees, it will not be counted as CSR. So only if you do something to the society, to the environment, then only it will be treated as a CSR activity. Okay. That CSR is a way in which companies achieve a balance of economic, environmental, and social imperatives. So for the sustainability, economic growth is important, no doubt. The social development is important, no doubt. But the most important thing is the protection of the environment. And if you are making the world which is not a place for living, when you make the world, earth, as unfit for living, then what is the use of economic development and social development? So, see in Tamil, we always says that கண்ணை விற்று ஓவியம் வாங்குதல். ஸோ ஓவியம் பிடிச்சி போச்சுன்னு வாங்கலாம் நம்ம. ஆனால் உங்களுடைய கண்ணை போய் வித்துட்டு நீங்கள் ஓவியம் வாங்கினீங்கன்னா அந்த ஓவியத்தை நம்ம என்ஜாய் பண்ண முடியுமா? Similarly, economic development important, social development important, but the environmental development, protection of the environment is very, very important. So, other than பார்த்தீங்கன்னு சொன்னா, the Companies Act insist through the CSR. Okay, right. I hope all of you might be knowing this great personality, Ratan Tata. Actually, the Tata concern is a shining example for contributing to the society. They have done a lot of things for the social development and of course for the employees and for the environmental production. So Ratan Tata ji, he says that business need to go beyond the interest of their companies to the communities they serve. So a company should not always see its own development. A company should see beyond that, beyond their own interest. And when we take a person, so everyone is having the self-interest, right? Okay. So I take my self-interest, and you take you bother about your self-interest. But when you are not at all bothering about the interest of others, then you are treated as a selfish person. Similarly, an organization can take the interest of their investors, employees, etc. There is no doubt. But beyond that, something is there. Beyond the employees, beyond the investors, the corporate, the business should contribute something to the social development for the environmental production. So that is the main theme of the words of the Ratan Tata. Okay. Then just about I read the words of Anita Rettig, founder and body shop. Actually, she is the business woman in UK, and she succeeded by starting the body shop. And she says that the business of business should not be about money. So you should not always think about money. You should always take care of your profit. So it should be about responsibility. It should be about public good, not private greed. And when I read the word of greed, so once I attended one lecture program of Dalai Lama. I hope all of you might be knowing Dalai Lama. So he delivered a lecture in the University of Madras auditorium, and he touched on the greediness. He said that one of the main causes for the problems the world is facing today is the greediness. So everyone have certain needs, no doubt. But whether we are just fulfilling our needs, no, we go beyond that. We develop our more desire, and the desire sometimes it is beyond your capacity, beyond your capability, and for achieving this you do something then that affect your health. Not only that affect your health, it affect the entire society. So the greediness is very, very dangerous, that harms the society. So the Anita Rettig rightly pointed out, a business should not only focus on money. It should take the responsibility. It should be about publichood, not the private greed. Okay. Right. So in the beginning itself, I said, so when the Companies Act 2013 made the CSR as a mandatory activity, there was two schools of thought. Some accepted, yes, there is nothing wrong making the CSR as a mandatory activity. But some business people said it is not the responsibility of the business, because the business responsibility is to make profit. That was the version of some leaders. So even the Ajib Bremji, the former chairman of Wipro, actually he's a person who contributed a lot for the development of the society, and they spent good amount for providing training to the people. But still he said, he opined that, so I don't think we should have a legal mandate for companies to do CSR. Philanthropy or charity or contribution to a society must come from within, and it cannot be mandated from outside. So his view is the government should not force the corporates to involve in the CSR activity. The CSR activity should come voluntarily as a philanthropic activity, as a charity. I think for the right people always think in this way only. But the question is, so whether every entrepreneur, every industrialist think in this way, and even after making abnormal profit, people are not ready to give something back to the society. So in that way, we have to think. Of course, as a contributor to the society, Mr. Ajib Bremji was correct, but all are not like him. So later I will show you one statistics, how the companies are escaping from spending on CSR. How many companies are not at all spending zero amount for CSR. That I will give later. So now I take another view about the mandatory of CSR activity. The voluntary approach to corporate social responsibility has failed in many cases. So this is truth. So previously government expected that the industries will contribute for protecting the environment, for the social development. It was not happened. So because of that only, the government made the CSR as a mandatory activity. So in that way, David Suzuki uh, correctly pointed out the voluntary approach to CSR has failed in many cases. So because of that only, the Companies Act now forced the companies to spend on CSR. Okay. And this is another quote on CSR that was said by Klaus Schwab. So according to him, the concept of CSR has long been used as an effective lens through which to examine the actions business can take forward, ensuring mutual long well-being and the sustainability. So here we have to note the words mutual long-term well-being and sustainability. So when the society is doing well, definitely the industry will get benefit. And when the industry is doing well, definitely the society will get benefit. There is no doubt. And similarly, when the environment is protected, all the creatures in the world will live happily. The future generation will not get affected. The future generation will not face any crisis of resources. But when we are not taking care of the environment, the future generation may get affected. They may not have the required resources, because all the resources are not renewable. There are certain resources which are non-renewable. And when you started exploiting the non-renewable resources, definitely the future generation will get affected. Therefore, in order to have the sustainable development, the corporate should take care of not only the economic development, not only their profit, but also the social development and the environment. Okay, right. Now I come to the sections which are mainly dealing with the CSR. Okay, so I already pointed out Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013 deals with the CSR, and this section made the CSR as a mandatory activity. Then the Section 135, subsection 5, made CSR spending as mandatory. Then, as per the Companies Act 2013, the companies which fulfill any of the following criteria have to spend 2% of the average net profits of the first 3 years on any activity listed in the Schedule 7 of the Act. So I come to the Schedule 7 later, because under the Schedule 7, the Companies Act clearly pointed out for which type of activities you have to spend. So if you spend other than the activity specified in the Schedule 7, then that will not be counted as CSR activity. Okay, right. So now the question is, so when a company is liable to spend on CSR, so I hope all of you might be clear. The 2% of the average profits, average net profits of the first 3 years must be spent for CSR. Okay. Now the question, when the company is liable to spend. So there are three criteria. So when the net worth of the company is more or 500 crores or more, then the company is liable to spend on CSR activity. And when the company reach an annual turnover of Indian rupee 1000 crores or more, then the company is liable to spend on CSR. Or when a company earned a net profit of Indian rupee 5 crores or more, then the company is liable to spend 2% of average net profits of the average of first 3 years for CSR activity. Suppose if the company is a newly started one, then from the year in which they started, that will be taken as a base, and if any conditions fulfill, any one of the conditions fulfilled by the company, then that company is liable to spend on CSR. Okay. So now the next one, to which company does the rule apply? So whether the rule is applicable only to the companies which are incorporated in India or foreign. So to which companies the rule applicable? So the Act says that the CSR rule is applicable to all companies incorporated in India. So whether it is a domestic company or a foreign company. Suppose if the company is incorporated outside India, then they need not spend on CSR in India. But the companies incorporated in India, they have to spend 2% of their profit for CSR. Okay, right. And objectives of CSR. So actually, the government of India, after implementing the CSR activities, CSR rules, they constituted a high-level committee to observe. So how the CSR activities are carried out by the corporates. So that committee is called a high-level committee. So the high-level committee constituted in the year 2018, they submitted their report. So just I have gone through that report. From the report, just I highlight the objectives of CSR. So the committee says that the objectives of CSR is, the primary objective of CSR it's not to mobilize resources for government to bridge resources gap in meeting sustainable development goals. So that was not purpose. So the primary objective is to promote responsible and sustainable business philosophy at a broad level and encourage companies to come up with innovative ideas and robust management systems to address social and environmental concerns of the local area and other needy areas of the country. So the committee clearly says that the CSR was not aimed to mobilize funds to meet the sustainable development goals. For that, the government is doing some other thing. And nowadays, in the name of disinvestment, the shares of public sector were sold to the private people. And because of that, they gained more funds. That is so CSR is not concerned with the fundraising, but the main objective is to make the corporate as a responsible business unit, to promote responsible and sustainable business philosophy at a broad level and encourage the companies to come up with innovative ideas and robust management systems to address social and environmental concerns of the local area and other needy areas of the country. For example, if you take the public sector units in Chennai, and they are doing so many CSR activities, particularly in the health side, they have done good thing. And nowadays, when you go to the government schools, and in most of the schools, there will not be adequate toilet facilities for the students, particularly for the girl students. There won't be any toilet facilities, and many corporates they spend money for constructing the toilets, and many corporates they offered free of cost the materials needed to the poor students. So in that way, the corporate they can identify the needs of the local area, then accordingly they can help, accordingly they can spend on CSR. So now the point is, so the government only cannot do everything. So as a responsible people, the institution can contribute something for the development of the society, for protecting the environment. Similarly, every one of us is having the responsibility to contribute to the society as well as to protect the environment. So in simple words, we can say that the objectives of CSR are to make the companies socially, economically, and environmentally responsible. So these are the three pillars or three bottom lines which make the CSR a worthwhile one. Right. Then all of you might be knowing that, so the act says about the constitution of CSR committee, then formulating the CSR policy. So according to the Companies Act 2013, so all the corporates they have to constitute which are liable to spend on CSR has to constitute a CSR committee. So that consists of minimum 3 or more directors, and out of which one will be the independent directors. Sorry. Actually, this is also one of the important features of the Companies Act 2013, because so the Companies Act 2013 made a lot of amendments. In this, the CSR is one, then appointing the independent directors is one, and similarly appointing the women as the directors in the board. That also become important amendment of the 2013 Companies Act, because so our society is a male dominated society, and in most of the time the female are not getting their representation in the board of directors. Therefore, the Companies Act 2013 insists to give a representation to the women in the board of directors. So the point is, the CSR committee, minimum 3 or more directors should be there. Out of 3, if it is 3, then out of 3, 1 should be the independent director. Then if you take the private company, because a private company can start their business with 2 directors, so in that case, there is no need for appointing the independent directors. So the 2 directors who are already as directors of the company, they can represent the CSR committee. Then the section 135 subsection 1, section 135 subsection 2, section 135 subsection 3 deal with the composition of CSR committee, disclosures about CSR in the board's report and the role of CSR committee, because the act says that so they have to spend on CSR under the activities specified in the schedule 7 of the act. Suppose if they are not spending on a particular year, they should report in the annual report, in the board report. They should report it. Otherwise, they are liable for punishment. Okay. Then the CSR committee has to formulate and recommend CSR policy to the company. So the companies which are liable to spend on CSR, they have to formulate the CSR policy. So section 135, subsection 4 deals with the CSR policy. But the thing is, the CSR policy formulated by the company should not be against the Schedule 7 of the Act, because that should match with the Schedule 7 of the Act. Also, the committee has to advise the board on the amount spent on CSR under the activities specified in the Schedule 7 of the Act. So when we take the corporate students, so after your degree, even I think right now, many of you might be pursuing the ACS and other professional courses. So when you join in the company as a professional, you are expected to give a proper advice to the company about the CSR rules. Therefore, you must have a detailed knowledge about the provisions relating to the CSR. So here I have highlighted only the major sections, because nowadays the government, they are frequently changing the various provisions of the act relating to the CSR. So previously the punishment for non-compliance was something, and now they have changed. So they are changing, keep on changing. So since you are the corporate secretaryship student, you must know the latest development on CSR rules. So that will help you when you go for ACS, or after completing the ACS, when you go for company as a company secretary. So because of this, these rules are very, very important for you. Okay, right. So now I come to the Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. So the Act clearly says for which activities the country should spend on CSR. First one is eradicating hunger, poverty, malnutrition, and sanitation. Then promoting education, including special education and employment, enhancing vocation skills. Then promoting gender equality, empowering the women, setting up homes and hostels for women and urbans. Then setting up old age homes. Then ensuring environmental sustainability, ecological balance. Then protection of flora and fauna. That means protecting all the creatures in the world. Then taking care of all the animal. Then agroforestry. So these are then conservation of natural resources. For that, a company can spend for CSR. Then protection of national heritage art and culture, then measures for the benefit of armed forces, veterans and war widows and their dependents, then training to promote rural sports, nationally recognized sports, then Paralympic sports, then contribution to Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, then on other fund set up by the central fund. So when we take the PM CARES, previously the PM CARES was not in the list of the Schedule 7. So later, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji introduced the PM CARES. Now that becomes a part of the Schedule 7 of the Act. Then contributions are funds provided to technology incubators located within the academic institutions which are approved by the central government. So now the startup is very popular, and when the corporate helps the startup, that also become the Schedule 7 of the Act. Then rural development projects, slum area development. So these are the major activities listed under the Schedule 7 of the Act. A company which is liable to spend on CSR, they have to spend on any one of the activities listed below only. If a company spend other than the activity given in the Schedule 7, then that will not be taken as CSR activity. So now, just I want to link the sustainable development goals. So if you take the sustainable development goals, so these goals were formulated by the United Nations. All of you might be knowing. So in the United Nations, 193 countries are members, and the United Nations, they formulated 17 goals. 17 goals. So I have given here. So I have the slides here. Just I want to correlate, because if you compare the Schedule 7 of the Act with the sustainable development goals, so most of the activities given under the Schedule 7 will be matching with the sustainable development goals. Therefore, when a corporate spend honestly on achieving the activities given in the Schedule 7, definitely they are contributing for achieving the sustainable development goals. So I hope you will understand better when we come to that part. But just to I highlight here, so why I am discussing all these things here. Okay. Okay, before that, just so we want to go through the CSR spending by the corporate during the year 2018-19. Okay. So as on 31/3/2019, the number of companies which are active are 11 lakhs 56,374. And out of this, the companies which are liable to spend on CSR are 24,902. So in the 24,902, the companies which are spending the CSR as prescribed in the Act is 666. And the good thing is, there are some companies, they spend more than the prescribed amount on CSR. So in that way, 5,862 companies, they have spent more on CSR than the prescribed. So these 5,862 companies, they deserve appreciation. Then come to another aspect. Companies spend on CSR less than the prescribed. 3,701 companies. So these companies, they have spent less than the prescribed amount. Okay. So the worst thing is, if you closely observe, you can see that 14,673 companies. These companies are eligible or these companies are liable to spend on CSR, but they didn't spend a zero rupee, zero amount for CSR. So now you can know that why the government made the CSR as a mandatory activity. So even though the government made the CSR as a mandatory activity, 14,673 companies, they are not ready to spend single paise for CSR. And when we take the total amount spent by the corporate on CSR, it is 18,653 crores they spend on CSR. Okay. So now on the basis of this data, so these are the data I have taken from the source of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So in their website, they have given the data I have taken for your reference. And when from by calculating this from the data, just I can highlight certain points. So the percentage of companies spending on CSR in India is only 2.15 percentage. So only a meager percentage of companies they are spending on CSR. And the company spending on CSR as per the act is 26%. So out of the company spending on CSR, almost 26% of the companies they are spending as per CSR, as per the act. And the companies spending zero amount on CSR is 58.92%. So this is very, very unfair on the part of the corporates. They should realize their responsibility. Then they should do something on this. Okay. Okay. Then, as I already pointed out, the high-level committee they analyzed the causes for not spending because it is like human. The company also say certain reasons for not spending. The high level committee they analyzed and they reported the reasons for not spending on CSR. Just I highlight only the important reasons here. First one is sustainable project not found. The company says that so there is no sustainable project. Then there is no suitable implementing agencies. Then multi-year projects. Multi-year projects means the projects take more number of years to complete it. Therefore, within a year we are not able to spend on CSR. Then majority of the projects were of infrastructure development in rural areas, which involve long implementation period. Then lack of prior expertise. The companies consisting of more directors with all big heads, they say they don't have expertise knowledge, that the inability of the company to formulate a well-conceived CSR policy. They say we don't have a well-conceived CSR policy. These were the reasons pointed out by many corporates for not spending on CSR. And if you really analyze the reasons, you can judge yourself how the companies are trying to cheat the society or how the companies are irresponsible on spending CSR. So this is about the amount spent on CSR. So these are also available in the website of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs because the act came into force in the 2014. So from this, they have given the amount spent on CSR. Just we have taken for analysis purpose. So just I will highlight the essence of this. So on the basis of the data given in the previous slides, we analyzed so for which area the corporate spend more on CSR activities. So the education was top. The particularly the education for the differently abled and livelihood, they spend huge amount on CSR. Then health, eradicating the hunger, poverty, and malnutrition, safe drinking water and sanitation. For that, many corporates spend on CSR. Then for the rural development, So for the rural development also corporate spend on CSR, then for environment, animal welfare, conservation of resources, that topped in the fourth rank on the activities on CSR. Then gender equality, women empowerment, old age home, reducing inequalities and others. For that also, the government has the corporates have spent. Actually, the Schedule 7 listed out various activities. Here, I highlighted the top 5 activities which gained more from the CSR. That this is about the states which gained more from the CSR. So in this, the Maharashtra was number one, then Karnataka, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, then Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is only in the fifth position. I hope you might be knowing the reason for the Maharashtra occupying the number one position, because the Maharashtra, the number of industrial units located in Maharashtra are high. Similarly, in Karnataka and Gujarat also. So because of this, they were able to attract more funds under CSR. And this is just about the companies which was considered the best in the CSR spending. So in this is the report of the 2020. So in this, the Infosys topped. Infosys, Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata Chemicals, ITC, Vedanta Limited, Wipro, Hindustan Unilever Limited, Godrej, then Grasim Industries Limited, Bharat Petroleum Limited. These are the top companies which spend on CSR. So because of that, they were treated as a best reputed company on CSR. Right. So now I come to the another part of my discussion about the sustainable development, because the entire idea of CSR is to develop the economy, to protect the environment, and to develop the society. And in this, and when the three things are achieved uniformly, or when there is a balanced growth of economy and environment, then society, definitely we can achieve the goals of the sustainable development. Okay, now just I want to go through the words of Grohaston Madland. So actually, she was the chairperson of the UN Committee on Sustainable Development Goals. She says that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Because resources are limited, particularly when you take the non-renewable resources, they are limited. And the people living now, if you all exhaust, or if all of you overutilize the resources, naturally this will affect the life of the future generations. Therefore, she correctly pointed out sustainable development is development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Or in other words, we can say sustainable development is a judicial use of the resources. So sometimes we, even if we take water, sometimes we are not saving the water properly, and sometimes we over waste the water. And similarly, we affected the nature, we affected the ecosystem. So because of this, definitely, if it goes like this, the future generations will get affected. Right. So here, I want to read the meaning of the sustainable development. So the first one is the definition given by the madam. And now I take another definition given by Wikipedia. So according to the Wikipedia, sustainable development is an organizing principle for meeting human development goals with simultaneously sustaining the ability of natural systems to provide the natural resources and the ecosystem services on which the economy and the society depend. So all of us must remember that we are depending on the environment for our living. So we are depending on the economy for our survival. So we need the developed society. So for this, everyone should try to contribute for achieving the sustainable development goals. Okay. So when we take the objectives of sustainable development goals, economic growth, environmental production, then social inclusion. So what is social inclusion? So when we take our society, there are certain people, they are excluded the mainstream of the study. There are some villages without electricity, without adequate road. There are some people even without living, they are living without having the account in the bank. They are not in the mainstream of the society. So the government of India, they introduced various schemes for including the people, including the excluded people in the mainstream. I hope all of you might be knowing the financial inclusion. So under the financial inclusion, the government made Jandan Yojana. So under this, everyone were motivated to open the account in the bank. So that is one financial inclusion. Then bringing the all people under the mainstream of the nation, then eliminating the disparity between one people to another people on the basis of caste, color, and greed. So these are very much important for the social inclusion, because there must be a balanced growth and development of the society. So if one society goes up and if another society comes down, that is not good for the society. And now one of the major criticism against the globalization is the globalization makes the richer more richer and the poor more poorer. So that must be avoided. So the this must be possible because of the social inclusion. Okay, just I take some examples for the sustainable development. So nowadays we are using the wind energy, solar energy, then crop rotation for avoiding the soil erosion, then sustainable construction, efficient water fixtures, then green space. So nowadays we uh, talk about the green banking, green HR activities, then green management, so many things. So that is about the green space, the sustainable forestry. So in most of the time we says the animals entered in the houses of the people, but unfortunately we have constructed the houses in the forest, and we say that the animals are entering in the house. So that is a very bad thing. Okay, right. Then the key issues in the sustainable development. Why we give importance for the sustainable development goals? All of you realizing the climate change, the global warming, the rising of sea water. So this is because of the climate change, and we expect that there may be more rain in the non-season, and there may be a water shortage. Even India is in a danger zone. At one time, India may face water crisis. That a lot of waste production. So now so many things, so many electronical items are coming, and we are not able to manage how to handle the waste. Then poverty. So the poverty is a major challenge for the society, for the country, for the world. Then social exclusion, that just I discussed. Then the management of natural resources. So if you take some companies, they are overutilizing the resources, they are exploiting the resources. Then the loss of biodiversity. We lost the ego balance system, the loss of biodiversity. These are some of the major crises we are facing now. So in order to save the world from these crises, the sustainable development goals are important. Okay, now just I want to highlight what are the sustainable development goals. So as I said earlier, there are 17 sustainable development goals. So all the members of the United Nations, they are struggling, they are working for achieving the sustainable development goals. First one is no poverty, then zero hunger, then good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, then clean water and sanitation, then affordable and clean energy, then decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, then reducing inequality. And when we take the term poverty, so I remember the words of Subramaniam Bharati. தனி மனிதனுக்கு உணவில்லை என்றால் ஜகத்தினை அழித்திடுவோம். That is the words of our Subramaniam, great poet Subramaniam Bharati. But what is happening now? There are millions of people, they are suffering from the poverty and they don't have even food, one day food. So that type of situation is prevailing in the world. Then another sustainable development goals, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production. So this is very important, responsible consumption. Sometimes if you go to any marriage and other functions, you can see how we are wasting the food and other thing. So there is no responsible consumption. Then climate action, then life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, then partnership for the goals. So these are the 17 sustainable development goals formulated by the United Nations, and all the countries are working towards achieving the sustainable development goals. Our government of India, they are also doing in a big way for achieving the sustainable development goals. For example, then Jan Dhan Yojana, then Make in India, Skill India, then of course there are certain government schemes to provide houses to the poor people. Then the government is funding to the people to construct toilet in their homes, because India is a country where the open defecation is there, and because of that the health of the people suffered a lot. Therefore the government under Swachh Bharat, I think Swachh Bharat, the government is doing many things to keep the country clean. Mere allocation of the fund will not help the country to keep the clean. So everyone is responsible for this. When we behave in a responsible way, then only so we can do this. So the government is doing a lot for achieving the sustainable development goals. Similarly, now the government make the corporates to contribute something for achieving the sustainable development goals, because the corporates, they are utilizing the resources. Sometimes they are exploiting the resources, and they are damaging the environment. You can see in many rivers they mix the wastage of the industries, so that affect the river, that affect the drinking water, that affect the what you say, then the ground level of the water. So that affect. So they are doing some damages to the environment. It is their responsibility to contribute something to repair the damages. So in that way, CSR can be used as an effective weapon to damage control. Okay. I think I have more data. Can I go further, or is there any time limit? So in this, I think I expect some response from the organizer. Can I go ahead, or can is there any time limit, madam? Oh, because right, right. Uh, so I have a lot of data.
There,
So in
there are a couple of questions, sir.
okay, madam. Okay. So they. So I think if they ask, I am ready to respond. Any question?
Yes, sir. There are a couple of questions. We
Okay,
will
madam.
display it on the screen, sir, so that you can also see, and I will call it out for you too, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I
Maulidharan
think.
S from second year has asked a question.
Okay, okay.
He's asking the question: what are the benefits companies have if they spend more on CSR activities?
Oh, right, right. I think he is seeing from the company's point of view. Uh, Companies are making already a lot of
Yes.
profit, and they enjoyed benefits from the society. But the question is whether the companies are ready to give back to the society. So CSR is giving back to the
Yes.
society. Uh, and if you expect everything from activity, then what is the fun of doing the on CSR? Okay, but anyway, I think you will be a good corporate person because you are thinking from the corporate point of view. So the thing is, so it is a responsibility. So when they spend on CSR, they can feel proud. That means they fulfilled the responsibility. So we have seen the companies like Infosys, Wipro, they are considered as a best CSR contributing company. So in that way, they can feel proud. And another thing is the CSR definitely give the benefit to the company. In what way? So when the company is popular on CSR, they can attract a good number of talented people. For example, when you take the Tata concern, the Tata is a very popular for CSR activity. So definitely the people will prefer to join in Tata concern. Similarly, when you take the Infosys, Wipro, so when they spend on CSR, definitely the people who are the talented people, they will prefer the companies. So the indirect advantage to the company is the company can get more popularity in the society. The company can be able to build its image, the corporate image. So that is possible.
Okay.
And another thing, the company can be able to attract the talented people. That is very, very important. These are the advantages for the corporates when they spend on CSR. I think I have answered the
Thank you, sir.
one. Okay, right. Right. I think
Definitely,
one.
sir. There's
Okay.
another question from Bipin Singh.
Yeah,
Do
okay.
companies spend their CSR funds on an individual person?
No, no, it is not allowed. Allowed. So if they spend money on individual person, that will not be taken as CSR activity. So that
Yes, sir.
that should come under Schedule 7. Then only it will be treated
Yes.
as CSR activity. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Is CSR out of profit or capital, sir?
Not so. If the company spend out of profit, that is enough. The act is not at all forcing the company to spend on capital. So when the company makes profit, particularly 5 crores and above,
Oh,
then they can spend on CSR. But when
yes.
you take the companies having net worth of 500 crores, then when the turnover is 1000 crores, definitely that companies must be in a sound position only. They can spend on CSR, but not from their capital. Okay. Then I think there is a question from Banu Sankar. Do government-owned companies practice CSR? Yeah, that
So
is
there's a
true.
question from Banu Shankar.
Yeah, yeah. I read, madam. So he's correct.
Yeah.
So it is not the government companies are not exempted from spending on CSR. So like the private companies, they are also responsible for spending on CSR. Of course, The public sector, they are also, they spend well compared to the private companies on CSR.
Okay, sir.
Yes. There is one question from Snega is whether she is IAS officer, madam? Okay. If they did not spend single rupee for CSR, what kind of punishment will be given, sir? So actually, previously, the act treated that non-spending as a crime. So even 3 years imprisonment was there, but now they amended the act. Amended act only in terms of penalty only they are responsible. I think I have noted down somewhere just for a minute. I will come with the answer because the rule is changing oftenly on the penalty. Uh, so when we take yes, so the penalty for not spending on CSR is 1 crore for defaulting companies, and for the officials who are responsible for not spending, they are responsible for a penalty of 2 lakh. At least that is minimum amount 2 lakhs. So 1 crore for the company, 2 lakh for the officials who are responsible for not spending. Okay, this is the current situation. All right. There is one, you stated CSR is the one such initiative which helps the management to identify the potential women employees, to encourage gender diversity in the top level management of the organization. Yes, madam. Actually, when we take the gender inequality, so India, we talk about, we say something, so many things about India, but we are worst when we take the gender equality, and we are just better than the Pakistan and Afghanistan. Even if you take our neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, in that country the gender equality is better than India. So when we take the gender inequality, particularly in the political system, so the government, they talk about the 33 percentage reservation in the parliament and the other state elections, but they never implemented that. So because of that, the participation of women in the political system is very very limited. Fortunately, in the education, our women, they have come up on their own. But when we take their participation in the top level political system, it is very very nil. And even when we take the corporates, the corporates are not easily allowing the women to become director in the company. Therefore, the gender inequality is there. I have data, but I don't have time to share with you. Any other question? Oh, class different levels of money will facilitate the definitely. So when you give enough participation to the women in the top officials cadre, definitely they will take care of the gender inequality. So even in the system, in particularly when you take the informal sector, the women are paid less salary, less wages. When you take the work is same. The time of the time spent on work is same, but the salary, the amount of wages given to women is less. So this is great injustice done to the women. So when there is a women participation in the top position, definitely they will take care of their interest. Any? I think Gopinath, government can make the corporates make it is mandate to serve society once in 2 years. No. So when you take, so every year they should spend on CSR, and if they are not spending on CSR, they have to give in their report why they have not spent, and they should do in next year. And now they amended the act. Suppose if they spend more, not that is we said 2% of the average 3 years profit. If a company spend more, then that can be adjusted in the next year. That is possible now. The Companies Act made the amendment on this record. So once in 2 years is not good, not advisable. Any question from others?
I think we've come to the end of the questions, sir. Thank you so much for being very patient in answering all our questions, and your presentation was excellent, sir. Commendable,
Okay.
sir. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
all the
you.
insight that you have given us.
Thank you.
I now welcome Mr. Subramaniam to propose the vote of thanks.
I thank our college management, secretary, principal, and head of the department for extending constant and active support in all our endeavors. It is our privilege to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Panchalan sir, Head Professor, Department of Commerce, Institute of Distance Education, University of Madras, who shared his knowledge and experience with it. I think all the faculty members, academicians, students who actively participated and made this webinar a grand success. Thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, the management, for giving this opportunity.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Participant, kindly fill the feedback form. It's posted in the chat box.